Next topic, that is paleontological evidences, right? Okay, now what is paleontology? Paleontology is a branch of a biology which generally deals with the study of the fossils, right? Everyone knows what are fossils. Fossils are the dead and decaying material of the plants and animal. Whenever the plants and animal generally get died, they get buried into the soil, and after that they lead to the formation of the fossils, due to which we generally get the fossil fuels, right? Now, larger number of your plants and animal or the organism, they die, they get buried into the soil, and whenever they get buried into the soil, whatever the remains and the impression which are been left over underground are generally called as the fossils, right? So this is your paleontology giving the idea about the fossils. And yes, paleontology or the fossils is a major factor in understanding the human evolution. So let's take a simple example, very important, that is carbon dating method. Now what is carbon dating? As the word suggests, carbon, it's related to carbon. Okay, so you know very well carbon is abundant in nature. So consumption of the carbon or carbon consumption in plants and animal after their death generally stops, right? Only the decaying of the carbon-14, that is carbon-14 isotope, generally gets continued. In case of the dead plants and the animals, in case of the dead bodies of the plants and animal, instead of remaining constant, right, the ratio between the carbon-14 and carbon-12 isotope gradually changes as carbon-12 is non-radioactive. Here we have taken two isotopes of carbon, carbon-14 and carbon-12, among which carbon-12 is non-radioactive, right? Now what happens is that the time passed since the death of a plant and animal can be calculated by measuring first the radioactivity of carbon-14 and the ratio between carbon-14 and carbon-12 respectively from the body of an organism. Right, so if you want to measure the time period, right, between a plant and an animal which has been died, you can measure it with the two factor. One is the radioactivity of carbon-14 and second the ratio between the carbon-12 and carbon-14 isotope. This method is generally called as carbon dating. Carbon dating is a very important method useful in paleontological studies and anthropology, that is study of the age of a human fossils and the manuscript. There you can generally identify this paleontological studies, right? So carbon dating, consumption of the carbon, once the plant or animal has been dead, only the carbon-14 decay generally gradually goes on. In case of a dead plant or a animal body, right, instead of generally changing or being constant, the ratio between the carbon-14 and carbon-12 generally changes, right? And that is why, because carbon-12 is non-radioactive, and the time which has been taken for a plant or an animal after the death, that can be calculated due to the difference in the ratio between the carbon-12, carbon-14 and also the radioactivity of carbon-14. This is called carbon dating. Now paleontological evidences also say that there are certain vertebrates which have generally originated from some invertebrate. That is, aves and mammals are generally originated from reptiles, reptiles from amphibians, amphibians from pisces, and pisces from the invertebrates. That's what all about your paleontological evidences. Next one is connecting link. Now, connecting link. There are certain organisms or a group of organisms or certain plants and animal which shows the characteristic feature of two or more group of organisms. So those organism or a group of organism or a plant or animal which generally shows the characteristic feature of one or two group of organism is generally called as connecting link. It means that morphological characters are generally seen in such kind of an organism by having two groups of organism. That is called connecting link. Let's have a two example. Number one, peripatus. Peripatus is a connecting link between Annelida and Arthropoda. It means peripatus is a single organism having the characteristic of Annelida also and Arthropoda also. Let's have Annelida-like characters. Body is segmented. You know, earthworm-like. If this is a body of an organism, you can see the body of the organism is segmented. They have thin cuticle. What is cuticle? It is having a thin waxy layer, right? And parapodia-like organs. parapodia such as locomotory organ. Let's talk about arthropoda-like characters, that is tracheal respiration and open circulatory system. Tracheal respiration, they will respire with the help of the trachea, and open circulatory system. So here they show the characters of Annelida also and arthropoda also. So peripatus is the connecting link between Annelida and arthropoda. Second example, duck-bile platypus is the connecting link between reptiles and mammals. Right? So duck-bile platypus lays the egg like reptile. So it is reptilia. And it is having mammary gland and hairs on the body like mammals. That's why it is placed in between reptile and mammalia. So yes, duck-bile platypus is a connecting link between reptiles and mammalia. And that's what all about your connecting link. And the last topic, that is embryological evidences. Embryo, you know very well, whenever there is a fertilization between a male sex gamete and the female sex gamete, there is the formation of a zygote. Zygote leads to the formation of the embryo. Embryology, the branch of the biology which generally deals with the developmental stages taking place in the formation of an embryo, is called as embryology, right? So you can see in the textbook, there are certain developmental stages seen in a different living organism or a group of organisms. In the initial stage, there are similarities in the development of the embryo. This similarities gradually decreases in the later stages, right? It means that in the initial stages, the embryo looks similar in between all the group of organisms. But in later stages, the embryo does not look similar. It means that there are certain gradual changes taking place in the development of the embryo. So this indicates that there are similarities in the initial stages that gives us a rise from the common ancestor. This is called embryological evidences. So total 6 evidences: morphological evidences, anatomical evidences, vestigial organs, paleontological evidences, connecting link, and embryological evidences. This all evidences led to the evolution. Thank you.